Hey, welcome. You know what? Tonight we have a special guest, Osvaldo Gomez. Hey, welcome, Ozzy.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Great. Hey, you know what? During this time of craziness, and I know we've known each other for many years, how are you doing? How are you getting through this whole COVID-19 distant learning?
Just day by day, man. Day by day, we do what we can, and it's a mixed bag. It really is a mixed bag. You got your good and you got your bad. I like the fact that between classes I can go grab a cup of coffee, but then I'm not at work. Like I feel like my productivity isn't as much as it could be because like you got your kids here and you got your family here, and you're kind of spread in different directions. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know in hindsight whether it'll be all good or all bad. It's going to be like life, I guess. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, Ozzy.
What's up, Cholo?
Dígame, carnal. When are we going to talk about calculus?
Hey, Angel. Hey, you know what, Angel? You're like a black cat in a black room, and there's no black cat in there, is? Come on. Come on, Angel.
Anyway.
Anyways.
We were trying to do Mr. Escalante and Angel. I don't know if it worked out, everybody, but
I bought it, bro. I bought it. I was like, I logged in. I was like, whoa, I'm in the movie.
Hey, here's my first question, actually, Ozzy.
Yes, sir.
But he did inspire this because in a post in the Pod and Deliver group, he mentioned this isn't a legitimate podcast until Ruben dresses up as Angel, Jacob is Mr. Escalante, and so we're legit now, Ozzy.
You guys have massive street cred now. This is you've made it. Congratulations, boys.
Touchdown.
You made it.
Touchdown. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Here's my first serious question.
Bring it, yes, sir.
Can I say something? Your arms, they look pretty good, dude. Are you like pumping or something? What's going on there?
Okay, wait. I gotta say something too. What's up with that hairline, bro? I mean, some of us are kind of hairline challenged. What? How do you do it?
You're talking to me, right?
No, I'm not talking to you.
I got a hat on.
Stop talking to you.
This is a wig.
Oh.
Good, huh? Good wig.
You look good, Ruben. That's true.
No, but Ozzy, seriously.
Yes.
Did you see the show? Did you see the show?
Did I see which show?
The Gun Show?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what? The moment I said which show, I felt like I'm walking into that. Right. And you went right there.
Oh, man. And now, no seriousness, Ruben.
Yeah.
Ozzy worked, I worked with Ozzy a couple of years at ELC many years ago. Yeah. And it was always, we had this little English little clan we used to sort of hover around. And right now, so it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Likewise, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah. So we've been talking about read aloud lately, and I guess I'm just going to pick your brain because I'm collecting books and I've been buying at a rapid pace. What are a couple of books that you like to read aloud to your class as an English teacher?
I hate to burst your bubble on that, but I don't really like to read aloud to the students. I think I'm of the mentality that you have to struggle, you have to wrestle with the text on your own. Now I will say this: I will read the first couple of paragraphs or something. Even before we start reading, I'll back that up. Even before we start reading, I have to set up the stage for you. I have to put the students in the right frame of mind. This is who the author is. This is their background. This is how what their novel, some general themes about it, just to kind of put the kids in the right frame of mind. I'll introduce what we're about to start reading a little bit, and then I'll start reading with them the first couple of paragraphs. And then I'll let go. Now that I've put them in the right frame of mind, I want them to be able to go into the text and struggle with it. That being said, one of the best strategies that I have is if I just assign something to read and I'll say, okay, just read from this page to this page and then we'll talk about it, I'm gonna lose most of them by like the second paragraph, right? So I have to give them just little checks along the way. Every 2 or 3 paragraphs, I'm gonna ask you a question. Every 2 or 3 paragraphs, there's a question for you to answer. And it could be something so simple, something comprehension based. And I tell them beforehand, I don't mean to do this to insult your intelligence. that's just the way our brain works, right? We're so distracted, especially in this day and age, that I have to give you like these little guideposts to kind of latch on to as you read along the way. So I do read with them, but just the very beginning. And then I just kind of let them go, and I let them kind of do these questions along the, like, we'll answer the first couple questions together just so that they can get that rhythm of what it is that they're doing. But then I let go, because I think they need that. They need to struggle with the text a little bit, you know?
I do like that. And I like what you just said right now, that you explained to them what your idea behind this was. Hey, we all our brains work like this, you know, and students appreciate that kind of empathy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is my 21st, 22nd year teaching.
Wow.
And you kind of realize that this job is more than just you being a teacher. Like, you have to, it's an art form, you know, you have to think about the psychology of the student, and how do you present this lesson in such a way where you don't give them this, but you just kind of have to structure it in a way where they just kind of walk into it. And before you know it, I mean, those wonderful moments where you look out to the classroom and you see and you feel the learning going on, and they don't even know that learning's going on. Like, those are wonderful moments, you know, that you can pat yourself on the back for that, you know? So, and that's all part of the art form of it, you know? And I wish that more people would see it that way, especially teachers. But it's hopefully by having these types of conversations, we can kind of expand that idea.
I mean, while you're sharing, is there like a book though, like a go-to book? Because I know you're sharing how you read a little bit and then you let them struggle with it. Is there a book that you see the kids like struggle with it, and you like to be there, hey, helping them out with it as they go along with it? What's the kind of a go-to book that you have every year? Or maybe you don't have one.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be completely honest. And I'm what I'm about to tell you, I'm of the mind to change it next year, because I have to. In my regular English classes, it's been years that I haven't read a novel, and I've been relying just on the textbooks that they assign for the classes. And most part of that is because I'm busy with like my AP Lit class and with being Academy Lead, the CPA.
Which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. But it's just for my own sanity and for my own self-preservation, I haven't really gone that way. But next year, to simplify my life, I'm actually not teaching AP Lit next year. And I'm just going to concentrate on the regular classes. And I have been thinking, that's actually one of the questions I've been thinking about. Like, I need to bring back a novel, because kids, they don't read. Like, some of these kids, like the last book they read was like 3rd grade. You know, like, I always ask that question, what's the last book you read cover to cover? And it's something out of the child's literature section at the bookstore, you know? And we can't do that, you know?
Such a good question to ask that I never thought to ask, or never think to ask, is when's the last time you read a book?
Yeah.
I could see that being as part of, because I give them an inventory, but I don't ask that question, but I'll add that to the student inventory in the beginning of the year, the questions and things.
I'm hopeful that's going to change, because, you know, I know we're all in the digital world, and our attention spans are super small, and the ideas that we like have to be within 140 characters, and we just swipe. But I'd like to cross my fingers that books and novels and reading will kind of take the route that vinyl did in music. You know, like when CDs came out, like, what's vinyl? That's old. When digital streaming came out, what's CDs? But now vinyl's kind of making a comeback. Like, it's hip. It's awesome to be to own vinyl. So I'm hoping that reading and novels and literature go that direction.
That's interesting.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And I think it's up to people like us, to teachers, to kind of make that happen. You know, like, one of the mental notes I need to make is to really kind of make the librarian at school my best friend, so that he can stock the shelves with books that kids like to read. And I got to tell you, there was a moment in my teaching career where my classroom library had some pretty good books. And all you need is one student to speak on that book, and there's a waiting list for that novel, right? Like, this is such a good book, you got it, and like, the kids, it'll go off like wildfire. So when I talk about novels in the classroom, I'm kind of wanting to expand from the traditional canon, you know, just if I can just get you to finish a novel, like that's an accomplishment. That's great. I mean, we'll talk about Shakespeare and Moby Dick some other time, but if you finished, you know, the latest young adult novel, like good on you, you know? So
Sure.
that's my mentality going forward. You know, 20 years into this and you're the teacher, but you should never stop being the student as well. You know?
Mm-hmm. You know, we seem to come back to the well of Elizabeth Learning Center because I've been reflecting and regarding my career, and there just seems to be a rich, I don't know, atmosphere there of just teachers who really, you mentioned, you just give their time. It's not just, you know, 9 to, or I guess you guys don't go at 9. I remember, you guys still have 7:20. I remember 7:20 back in the day.
Wish.
Remember that?
You know, you guys talked about that in one of your other podcasts. And when I think Ruben, when you said that, I was like, yeah,
remember that?
That was cruel. That was awful.
Nuts. But whatever time you have, like whatever it is, well, we're all going in right now at the same time, right? Like tomorrow we start, I think, at 8:30. Yeah. But that being said, you know, we have all these people there that were just rich with just intellect, and people wrote books, and people did film, and people did, you know, I know George Anosky, which I hope we could get on sometime, you know, doing his work with his, you got national, what's that?
With the gardens, with
the gardens,
those native plant gardens.
Yes, there's just so, I mean, what the heck at that one school. And so you shared that right now, you've been in teaching over 20 years. I mean, who was that teacher, maybe when you first got there, or maybe it was another school, or maybe at home or somewhere that mentored you, that said, hey, this is how it goes, you know, or let me encourage you. Can you think of one or two?
I can't really think of one or two, but I think I'll kind of take a step back and just, because when I started in middle school there. Elizabeth Learning Center is kindergarten through 12th, one of the
right.
one of the 2 schools in the whole district, right? But I started in middle school, which everyone should do, by the way. That'll teach you a heck of a lot, really quick.
I did 4 years.
I did 5.
Oh, jeez.
But I remember being there, and I remember looking at the high school teachers and just getting that vibe, like there's something special about the group there. Like I don't know what it is. It's just a great collection of teachers that really care about their kids, you know? If I was forced to really kind of put a face to that mentor, it would have to be probably the Parker Nanoskis, Kim Parker and George Nanoski, like we just mentioned. And I know you said you got to get George in here,
gotcha.
But you have to get Kim in here. I don't know if she's still,
for sure.
You know how she is.
I know it's me tough.
Love you, Kim, but you need to get Kim on here. She's such a beautiful soul. But
she is.
But I see them, you know, I get so wrapped up in work and in handling business with the academy and in life and in paying bills and this and that sometimes you take a look at Kimberly Parker and George Nanoski and just how they approach the classroom, how they approach their relationship with students. And it's not a top-down deal per se. You genuinely feel that they respect the students, not just as students, but just as human beings, as young adults, early down the path that we've already taken. You know, there's that empathy, there's that love, there's that realness there. And it's something that when I get kind of too caught up, sometimes I just walk into Kim's room and I just need to be there just to kind of soak up the aura of the place. You know, like they really are, they're amazing people. They truly are.
It's funny how you answered that question by your observation of 2 teachers. And I wonder, it's so true for some of us, how there are mentors that we know who don't even realize they're mentoring.
Yeah, exactly.
Just by example, you know?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's you know, you have your professional mentors. Like there's this guy that I've read a couple of his books, Kelly Gallagher. Never met him. Teacher out in Orange County, English teacher, just amazing.
Oh yeah, I went to a workshop of his. He's amazing.
Yeah. I love his books, and those are professional mentors. But then you have these other mentors, like teacher mentors or life mentors. Paulino Fontes was a life mentor for different reasons, not so much as an English teacher, just as a person. You know, he was so interesting and just a wild child. And I think as a mentor, he served to mentor life in me in kind of in a way to make you understand that there's more to life than just work. There's more to life than just the 9 to 5, the bills and this and that. Like that perfect story for him. What I wrote after he passed, what I wrote on social media, that it was about a year or two after he retired, and it must have been our last week of school because the kids were gone. It was like 2 p.m., so it was like an early day. And my phone, I was cleaning my desk, my phone rings, and it's him. And it's 2 p.m. and he's drunk. He is drunk. And he's at Musso and Frank's in Hollywood, his favorite restaurant. And he's drunk. And I was like, "What's up, Papa?" You know, and I figure like he drunk dialed or something. But we just started talking and we were laughing, and the conversation easily was for at least 45 minutes. And at the end of the conversation, he says, "Okay, I gotta go now, but I called you for a reason." Still drunk, right? Still drunk. He says, "I called you for a reason. I want you to know that life is beautiful, that life is wonderful. And don't you, can I cuss here? You can't.
You're the second one, so go for it."
You know, it's good. I'm glad. I was going to say you can't cuss and
I listed it as not for kids, so we can't get.
So he says, "I want you to know that life is wonderful, that life is beautiful. Don't you fucking forget that, cabrón." And I said, "I won't, Papa, I won't." But that was him, you know? Like, it was such a, like, pay attention to life and the stories that he had, which I will not repeat here because some of those are just.
But he's still looking out for you, you know? I mean, he was still like thinking about you, and that must have felt great, you know?
It was, and it's sad that he departed, but he lived such a good life, such a long storied life, you know? It was a good life. It was one of those where you look back and you're sad to see him go, but it's like, that was a good life, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Mentor,
yeah,
that's a mentor.
Yeah, he was, and we dedicated an episode last week to him, just because, you know, he and I, as you know, we would butt heads, but I always felt like he still cared about me, and I cared about him, and we would just get along, you know, even though we might disagree on certain topics, but we got it done. Yeah.
Can I say, Ozzy, that Jake isn't the only one butting heads with coworkers. He butts heads with us. We have another brother.
I never disagree.
You know,
so you're not wrong, Ozzy. You're not wrong.
Okay? There might be something wrong with me. Have you guys don't you guys feel bad for me or anything? Jeez.
I'm glad you finally realized that, Jacob. But
there's something.
You know, I will say this about you, Jacob. I will say this about you.
Say one nice thing, please.
I when it comes to certain topics, you and I will never see eye to eye.
For sure.
But one of the reasons why I've always enjoyed your company, Jake, was because even after our dust-ups, and me telling you you are freaking wrong, and you telling me you're freaking crazy and wrong.
I think I'm uglier, though, just so you know. You're always nicer. You're always nicer than me. But go ahead.
After all those dust-ups, I had no disrespect for you, Jake. Like, you were like my guy. Like, I got your back, and I know you got my back.
I do have your back.
And it was like, and that's how things should be, you know? Things are so kind of polarized right now. And I think, like, let's kind of agree to disagree and go get a beer.
Exactly. And I think that's what, at the end, with Paulino and I, is that we agreed, you know, hey, you know what, we're not always going to agree, but, you know, I still love him. And I text him a few times before he passed away, and I just see him and say, hey, man, I care. I told him I loved him, you know. And I'm glad I said it, because it's like, I'm going to get emotional, but I really did love him, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, just like what we're talking about now, and I love you too, Oz, and I just think, wow, I was so lucky. I mean, I was spoiled to be influenced by that group of people. And anyway, yeah.
Here's speaking of kind of, when it comes to you and mentor, there's two things that you said to me that I've never forgotten. And you know, I'm the lead teacher of the Health Academy, and that job, the person that did that job before me was you. You did that for what, 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
About 5 years. So when you left, and I remember I was calling you a lot that was first couple months, because I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember consciously making the decision in a couple months, and I said, you know, I'm not going to call Jake anymore. I got to figure this out for myself. And so I stopped bugging you. But about a year or two after you left, we were talking, and you said two things that I'll never forget. One thing that you said is that you said, Ozzy, no one's ever really going to know what it takes to be in this position
Mm.
unless you're in this position. And that is so true. Like
Mm.
you have your other team members and you love them all, but they have no idea. They have no idea. And the other thing that always stuck with me, and that might have been that same conversation that you said, my 2 best years of teaching were the year before I became lead and the year after I left being lead. And I feel
Still
that, Jake.
true. Still
I
true.
feel that so deeply, Jake.
Still true. Can we pivot to CPA though? Right? I mean,
Yes.
because that's like, if you guys don't know, it's California Partnership Academies, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on. Besides all your knowledge in English, and Ruben's there, and Ruben, you could throw some questions there too. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead before I go. You gonna say something, Ruben?
Because I want you to talk about the health academy, but real quick question: have you heard Ozzy do public speaking, Jake?
Have I ever heard him public speak? Yeah, I've heard him public speak.
Because I could tell he's good. I could tell he's good.
Oh, he is. He's very good, actually. Yeah.
How do you teach that? How do you get them good?
Wow.
Oh man,
That's a good question. Jeez.
yes. I think I'm gonna have to. It's the same. Like anything else, like with writing, like with speaking, you need to show good examples.
Mm.
You need to have them hear what a good speaker sounds like, because it's not just the words that you're saying, but how you're saying them, the intonation, the inflection, the timing, and the same thing with writing. You need to show them good writing and what good writing looks like. And one thing that I always tell every time I can to all the teachers is, not only do you need to show kids good writing, the kids need to see you writing. They need to see your writing process, because a lot of kids think that you're, and this is straight from Kelly Gallagher, like he says, who is the best writer in the classroom? You are. You're the teacher. You're the best writer in the classroom. So the kids need to see you write, because in the process of you writing, you're going to mess up. You're going to do mistakes. You're going to misspell stuff. And they need to see that. They need to see that writing is a process. You're never really done with it. I mean, there's things that I've written 10, 15 years ago that I can still go back and edit and, move stuff around. So they need to see that. So I tell that to as many teachers as I can. They need to see you write. They need to see you mess up, all that.
And by extension, it's good stuff what you're sharing. Do you ever just get up there and start speaking or giving a little act or a little monologue or something?
I do. As a teacher, you gotta bring their attention.
Perform.
Somehow. You gotta perform. It's a performance.
It is.
So I'm cognizant of what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, because, at the end of the day, your audience is just teenage kids, and at the end of the day, they're kids. And so you got to bring them in somehow. They're a captive audience, and sometimes they're an audience that don't want to be there, so you have to spice it up or something. You have to start off with some kind of side story. The best way that I found to kind of grab kids is to tell them a personal story. They love hearing about your life and about your stories and stuff, and that gets them. Like, you feel like they're there. And if you can tie that with whatever lesson you're doing to kind of segue into that, that's the art form. That's the art of it. So, but yeah, examples, and you are the best model in the room. So you do it.
And Ruben, just so you know, he, as a lead teacher of the academy, he has many opportunities to speak and in front of these kids and give them directions. And so, yeah, I think when
at every graduation graduation, you're expected to make a speech as the academy lead teacher. Yeah.
And those can be fun, right? They can be fun. They can be stressful, but they can be fun.
They could be the best. One of the most awkward moments in one of my speeches was I was giving them a list of advice, like advice before you go. And one of the pieces of advice that I gave was, kids, don't listen to your parents. And the room just went like, whoa, you could hear them murmuring. So I was like, they're going to come up here and kill me right now. Right. And my point with that was that the times are different, and you need to, this is the only life you're going to have. So whatever it is that you want to do with your life, you need to honor that. You need to make the most of it. And sometimes some of the things from previous generations are not going to apply to you or who you are. The very next piece of advice that I gave, though, after I said that, was, kids, listen to your parents, because they have walked this road that you're on. They've walked it longer than you have. And they can tell you a thing or two about how to navigate it. So when I said that second piece of advice, you could feel the room, the oxygen come back into the room. Like,
right. But it's kind of like that balance, right? That's a great speech. Just be able to say, hey, you know what? You got to be understanding, cognitive of what you want in your life, but also, hey, your parents have been there and they could help you out a little bit there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And
cool.
you know, it's a point of pride that I have never used a quote in any one of my speeches either.
Really?
I always keep that in mind. Never use a quote. It's all.
Very cool. Everyone uses them.
So that's why I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
That's cool. Hey, so for our audience, let them know what California Partnership Academy is and what. Let them know, and then I'll throw you.
So California Partnerships. Shout out to California Partnerships. CPAs, California Partnership Academies it's a state program where a high school will get money from the state to run this program, and it's designed to essentially what it does in your schedule is it takes away the traditional electives like woodshop or all this other stuff, and it replaces them with a career specific class. So for example, Jake and I, we were in charge of a health academy. So all of the electives in our health academy are trying to gear the kids towards a career in health. And there's about 400 plus CPAs in the state of California, and they're all focusing on different sectors. We have 2 on our campus. The other one's the Information Technology Academy, but there's like agricultural academies, there's digital media, there's all sorts of career pathways that the state created this program to kind of help the kids along. And I think it kind of came about to try to address the fact that the high school model as we know it may be a little bit outdated. And we need to get these kids kind of more career oriented. And it doesn't take over the whole high school, because as it is, CPAs, Jake, as you remember, they're a small group.
Yeah.
You can have a traditional 3,000 kid high school, but the CPA will only be about, 200, 300, 400 kids of those. So if those kids are interested in that career, then they join the academy. We kind of walk them through it. And one of the good perks of the CPAs is that it forces you to make business partnerships. It forces you to go out into the real world. Like, for example, we were in the health academy. We had partnerships with Kaiser Hospital, St. Francis Hospital, and we would put those kids in those locations to give them that real world experience of what it's like to be working in the health field. And it's a very fantastic program. And so there's about 400 of them. There should be 4,000 of them. Yeah. But it's a very good program.
It sounds fantastic. I mean, as you're talking, I'm wondering if that would even motivate students to perform better in school, because now they have something to aim for in college for a specific reason. Do you find that, or?
Well, the original model of the CPAs was designed to try to bring in at-risk kids. Those kids that may be they're struggling in school, but if we give them a specific focus, like, hey, we're going to offer you these experiences in this line of work, that would serve as a motivating factor for them to do better in their schooling, in their life. And with the idea that when they graduate from high school, they could either have the skills enough to go straight into that career, some kind of entry level, or go off to college to pursue a career in that field. So we're like planting those seeds in their head to hopefully, to be able to see that in the long run in their lives, so they can kind of go into these fields. So yeah, I think we have, and it also helps that we're a small setting. Like, you can't escape. Like, all the teachers know you, and you know all the teachers in the academy. So that's another factor. Like, you can't slip through the cracks because we find you.
And as I remember, they have you sometimes sophomore, junior, senior year, or at least junior, senior year. And these kids, when you have them once, like I don't have that situation right now, but I know you do, Ozzy. When you only have them a couple of years, they become part of your. I think Juan Cardona used to say something how they became part of your consciousness, right?
Yeah, he says when you're at a traditional high school, these kids are on your mind. They're on your mind. But in this smaller setting, they're not just on your mind; they're on your conscience. Yeah. And that's a difference. There's a difference there. And he said that so many years ago, but it rings true for that program. Yeah, definitely.
Do kids come back and say, wow, I'm doing this in the health field, or do you maybe hear from a secondhand that these kids are going out and going in that direction? Because I know, and we have you guys have the other academy, Infotech, but for the health, do you ever have kids come back?
I think so. I think more often than not, we do. I mean, I think as an academy, you're just giving me an idea here. Like we need to do a better job of keeping track of how these kids do afterwards.
That's another job you have on the to-do list.
Thanks, Jake.
Right.
Thanks, because I got nothing on my plate.
Right,
Thanks.
you have nothing else to do.
but yeah, I think you keep in touch with these kids. I don't accept friend requests from current students. That's just creepy. Right. But after they graduate, then you kind of open up that door, and it's interesting to see how these kids grow up. And a lot of them do end up pursuing a career in the health field. I love to say that all of them do, but life is life. But they do. And I think it's we were lucky to be focusing on health because it's a career field that's not going away. It'll always be there. So it's in a certain sense, it's job security for them. And that's a point that we hammer with them over and over. So, but we've been pretty good. Like the kids always come back. We always have alumni coming back for career fair,
cool.
and tech. So we've been pretty lucky in that aspect. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I mean, kind of looking at, kind of going another little direction here. I've noticed with the Pod and Deliver, we've talked to a lot of people who love music, and honestly, I just have these images in my head of you teaching, but also at night in the weekends performing. I mean, I know, when was the last time you performed on stage? And I think you played the bass, or was it the guitar? I can't remember.
No, I was rhythm guitar, and I was always rhythm guitar because I was never that good that I don't know how to solo. I'll just be in the back just doing
rhythm guitar.
But I was in a band. Like I've been in bands since I was like 15, right? When you're in high school, in middle school, I was a metalhead, right? Like Metallica, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses, like that was me.
Right.
And then in high school, I remember a friend of mine gave me a mixtape. You guys remember mixtape? That's a lost art.
Yeah.
Speaking of art forms, right? He gave me a mixtape of punk music. And it's one of those moments in your life where you can clearly draw a line between before and after. Like it just hit me. It just opened up something in me that I was like, wow. So I picked up a guitar and I perfected it. And so I've been playing music since I was a kid. And when I knew you, I was in a band with my brother.
Yes.
And it was not a punk band. It was more like a Latin music, kind of like Latin jazz and ska and cumbias and all that. And that was great. I loved it. But I don't play anymore. I'll tell you the exact moment. I love telling the story. When my wife was about to give birth to our son, our second kid, she pulled me aside and she said, if you think I'm going to stay home and take care of your two children while you go out and play with your friends, you got another thing coming. Word for word, brother. That's what she said.
That sounds like a Latina wife.
It's like
I'm married to one.
You love them, but you fear every night that you're going to get chopped up by a machete. But that's why you love them, But that was an awful stereotype. I apologize.
I know.
That was an awful shame. Shame on me.
Oh, geez.
But I left it then, and that's my boy's going to be 13. So I haven't really played much since. There was a point where I couldn't even pick up my guitar. My son is autistic, and for some reason it kind of bothered him. So every time I picked up the guitar and I started playing, like he would come over and he would like get it and like put it down. Okay. So I didn't pick it up. But I'm starting to pick it up again a little bit. I really hope, one of my wishes is that when all this COVID stuff is over, like I get to join you know what I want to play? I want to play 80s music, man. Like I want to play like new wave, like
nice.
That's what I would love to be in an 80s cover band. That would just be awesome. But I don't know, just dreams and wishes,
Right.
The job really can be stressful. So I was going to, maybe you already answered the question of 2 things you like to do to de-stress or to decompress. And if you don't want to answer that one, you could also answer 2 books you'd like to recommend. You often recommend it, people, but because I heard the Fontes thing where he was drunk at Musso and Frank's, and I thought, man, that sounds like fun again.
Yeah.
For me, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll answer both really, really quick. One of the books, and I gotta thank speaking of my wife, I gotta thank my wife for this one. Is East of Eden by Steinbeck.
I love it.
I'd seen the movie, classic movie, great movie, But my wife put it in my head once, like, you should have the AP kids read it. And so I bought it, and it's a massive book. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like 600 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I used to like, that I like doing with my AP class, is reading what I call a BAB, a big ass book. You know, anything that's 400 plus pages, right?
Right.
And I said, you know what, this year, guys, we're going to do East of Eden. I've never read it. Let's read it together. Easily one of the best novels I've ever read in my life.
How astonishing is he as a writer?
Amazing.
Just amazing.
You know, you've read his other works, but this was on another level. Like, it's one of those, like, you get literary hangover when you finish that last page. You just kind of sit there and like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And I had no idea that the movie was really just the second half of the novel. And the first half of the novel is amazing. And I really hope, fingers crossed, that they remake that movie into this epic movie, because that would just be amazing. That one, and The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. Great. Those two are fantastic. I've read that with my AP class, and the kids really like those. As far as de-stressing, just music. I love music. Listen to music. Gardening. I have thanks to George Janoski, I have a little patch in my front yard with native plants. And there's weeds out there that I gotta go pull out. But I definitely like putting my hands in the soil. I love stepping out with the family, especially these days when it's like you took that for granted in the past, you know, and just going out for something as simple as ice cream. It's just it's such a great thing just to do. And writing myself. Like, I used to do a lot of writing when I was younger. I kind of left it. Strangely, like when my mother passed, I think I kind of stopped writing, and which is dumb, because that's really the moments where you really need to be writing. But I just kind of stopped. But I've recently, in the last 6 months, I've started to kind of pick it up again, and I've remembered how cathartic it is. You know, it's almost like you have these thoughts in your head, and just writing it out, it's like an exorcism. You just let them, come out.
Have you ever thought about doing like those poems like Paulino did, or something like that, for your, the kids that you're friends with, who are not kids anymore, but adults?
Yeah.
They're in their 30s now, probably.
But poetry was never my deal. I was more like the prose. And I had a blog for a while. I think I still have it. It's still up there with all my old writings. But I've shared that a couple times. But yeah, like sometimes when I am in the classroom and I tell them that writing doesn't just equal essay. Writing is it's an expression of humanity, of your own humanity. And here's an example. Look, this is a little corner of the internet where I have, look at some of this dumb stuff that I've written. And that's fine. And that's anything to get them excited. So yeah.
Awesome.
There is a group that I used to go offline. I mean, when everything was open, but now it's online, and it's called Shut Up and Write. And literally, you go and you write with people, and you don't even share. You just sit and you write. And there's something psychological about being in a room with other writers writing. Yeah. And then towards the end, they started opening up. Hey, they want to share what they wrote. You don't have to. Just leave, but there is something to that. So
when I was in college, I was part of a writing club, like a little, and we would meet at the pizza joint right outside campus. They had a back room that we just ordered a bunch of beer and a bunch of pizzas, and we just. But there is something about being in a group like that, because it's expected. There's expectations, and once you're there and you're picking up on that vibe and that vibe and that vibe, it's good. It's a good thing. And that's not just for writing, but just I've noticed that with like teaching professional developments, the good ones anyway, where you get to interact with other teachers and you get that energy, that synergy going. And there's just something about having like-minded people in the same place that really gives us a good vibe.
Ozzy, my dad chastised Jacob and me for doing this.
Oh boy!
And this podcast, he didn't chastise us. Maybe it's too hard to work.
Chastise. Dad, if you're listening,
prodding and probing and why I don't get it. What's the point? What are you doing? I saw this and that. And he's going to ask him questions. But one of the things I told him was what you just suggested there about how if nothing else happens, I've gotten so much inspiration, ideas from other teachers talking. This podcast, by the way, will go down as a very strong one. already so far, but it could go awry, and then, you know.
He can screw up. He could screw up at any moment, Ruben. Just so you know.
We'll start talking politics, and we'll see how bad this goes.
And then it goes.
We're trying. We're reeling that. We do not want that here. Believe me.
I gotta tell you, I did make a mental note, like, Ozzy, don't go there. Okay? This is Jacob. This is your brother. Don't go there.
Oh, man.
Love you guys.
Ozzy,
I love you too.
Ozzy, I would jump on your side just because any
you just always
we can gang up on Jake. I'm for it. I'm in favor of.
Yeah, all of a sudden he becomes this. Yeah, never mind.
Pick on Jacob.
Yeah, see, it's so easy. Have you noticed by the podcast? Do you feel like Ruben picks on me too much? Oz, be honest. A little bit, maybe.
Kind of, but I don't feel bad about it. Like,
Hey, but you know what?
I feel like it's like I'm getting into a little glimpse into the Aguilar household, like when you were kids.
Oh yeah.
Kids, Ozzy, there have been dust ups as adults. Maybe it would shock people.
Dust
and I'll just leave it alone. I don't think
my family's in the same boat. We have a Facebook chat that's dedicated to politics, and it's a miracle that we still see
love each other
on the holidays because those dust ups are epic. But it's just
I would like to say something. I don't know if you remember this, but I used to run into you at the Starbucks on Long Beach and Firestone.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's something so positive about Southgate, Cudahy. Like, I don't know. I get such positive vibes from those students. It's just really, my time there was really, I only look back fondly at all of that. So it's really good.
My brother and I have always had this idea that Southeast LA, or Cela as it's known now, Southeast LA has always, when we were growing up, it was a bit of a cultural desert. Like there was like, you know, the world knows East LA, right? There's these things, these ideas attached to East LA. But Southeast LA really became a Latino hub in the 80s, right? And onward. But growing up, there was always there wasn't much going on. There were backyard punk gigs that I went to all the time, but that was about it. Like we didn't have coffee shops. We didn't have art places. We didn't have anything. And I see now that that's changing. And I welcome that so much because maybe, you know, my time has passed, but the kids that are coming up, they need that. They need an outlet, an avenue to express their humanity, you know, like, and East LA is a cultural thing, but you know, we live in Southeast LA, that we got people in Southeast LA too. And those kids, you know, they're great kids. I always tell them that academically, they struggle a bit, but they are very smart. They're intelligent. Maybe not in the ways it comes up in standardized tests, but they are incredibly intelligent in life. You know, some of these kids have gone through things that you and I will never, and nor would we want to. And they're still there. They go to school every day, and you know, if nothing else, they drive me crazy. I think, you know, I've had my admin credential for 10 years, and I haven't acted on it. And I just think, like, you know, I love being around kids because they say stupid stuff and they do stupid stuff, but they're kids. They're supposed to do that, you know? If I go down the admin route, I'm going to deal with adults that say stupid stuff and do stupid. Well, how do I handle that? Like, Ozzy, you're an adult. You should know better, you know? If you're a kid,
don't go to the dark side, Ozzy.
Ozzy, it's so funny. I've been thinking the same things as you just share right now. And I was just telling a student that was not a student now, but a student back in the day. She graduated in 2003. I just had a conversation with her today. She, first off, she loved, you know, being there and being guided. But you know what? I told her, I don't think I want to do anything else except teach. I feel like I have, talking to somebody who you had 20 years ago, I mean, that's amazing. I know you have the same conversations, Ozzy. I know you see people and you go, I'm still, you know, Christian Markovich, you know, who's mayor of Cudahy. I mean, isn't it amazing that we have these people? They're not just smart, they're brilliant, these kids, you know?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, we can all think back to a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's always a teacher. We never hardly ever think back like, oh, there was an assistant principal.
Right. Right.
No disrespect to assistant principals.
They work hard. They work hard.
They work hard. They gotta, you know, that's the captains of the ship. But
they are. Yeah.
I don't know if I want that. I don't know.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Oz? As we're winding down here, I'm gonna ask you something, and hopefully I don't put you on the spot. But it's not a bad thing; it's a good thing. As we're ending, I'm not sure if you know we're going back to school this week. It's going to be interesting, right? And I know right now I'm thinking, oh boy, I have to get ready for tomorrow. Little affective filter is getting up, but that
I feel,
you know
I feel it right here too, bro.
You feel it, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? I know you've had these conversations. I know I have. Ruben has too, with these kids, and some of them have really struggled this last year. If you were giving a speech like you will for graduation, class of 2021, what's one thing you would share with them? Just encourage them to, you know, with not only life, but even maybe even with these kids coming back. What's something can you say to them to just encourage them to just press on, to go forward?
You know, I have been thinking about that because it's around this time of the school year. I got to start thinking about my graduation speech.
Yeah.
You know, what kinds of themes I want to touch on. And I think one of the ideas that's been bouncing around in my head has been that, you know, education doesn't just happen in the classroom. Education doesn't just happen at school. You know, there's that famous quote, I think it was Mark Twain, like, don't let school get in the way of your education, you know? So even though we weren't on campus, even though we weren't in a classroom, you learned a lot of things. You learned, you know, from the smallest things, which are how to Zoom, how to join a breakout room, how to, you know, how to put silence in the etiquette of online meetings, to bigger things, like how to juggle school and life at the same time, you know, because you may be there taking care of your little brother. Some of these kids, they would log on and they'd be at work. They got a job and they'd be like, my initial teacher instinct would be like, what the hell are you doing? You know, you're supposed to be paying attention to class. But then you pause yourself and you're like, these kids are just, they're learning how to live. They're learning how to survive. And my hat's off to them, you know, like so a lot of kids have struggled. A lot of kids are struggling academically. But if I can just reach them, even in a non-academic way, you know, then I've done my job. You know, I don't know about you, Jake, but I've not failed in a student, and I refuse to fail students because
this is a different year. Yeah,
I have no idea what their home life is like. You know, they could be messing around, they could just be doing the social media, but how do I know? You know, they could be busy, they could be logging in to my class from a job. You know, like I don't know. But it's been an interesting year, and I've been thinking about kind of focusing on those themes. Like we learn anywhere we are, anywhere we go, and ultimately the purpose of school is to prepare you for life, and this is life, and how you managed it. That's learning. You've learned it, and good job. You know,
that's a good point. Just to let them know that you guys did it. You survived it. You know, I mean that's big. This has been a overwhelming year. I mean,
it has been. I mean, you get that message from the kid saying, "Mister, I gotta go. It's my grandpa's funeral," and you're like, "Why are you even here? Like, don't log in." You know. But so it's been a crazy year, man. It's and my hat's off to these kids. My hat's off to the teachers. You know, we've done the impossible in this situation. You know, and we're being asked to do it again starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. And I think Ruben and I need to do an episode, a 5-minute of just sometimes people backtalk the teachers, but man, we have the toughest job right now. We've had a tough job, you know, and
we do. And, you know, sometimes that back mouthing is justified. Like I said, like sometimes I read those criticisms and I'm like, all right. I get
some of it is,
some of it is there, but at the end of it, it's like, you have no idea what this job is. Like you said, like the famous Jacob Aguilar said, you have no idea until you've walked in our shoes.
Amen. Yeah. For sure. Well, you know what? Thank you for being on, and you know what? We'll definitely be in each other's lives. You know, we have been over these 20-some years, right?
Anytime. Hey, I got a suggestion for you, and
yes, please.
I want to see if you guys pick this up.
Well, we already got this on, you know.
Yeah.
We listened to you.
So I was thinking, I was trying to think like movies about education that you guys can talk about. And initially I thought of, not of a movie, but I don't know if you guys have seen The Wire, HBO's The Wire.
Yeah, that's his favorite show.
I just brought it up on another episode. Is weird, Ozzy.
That is like the best television ever. Season 4 is about education.
It's a great season.
It was a fantastic season. The best of all 5 in my opinion.
That would be fun.
But I thought, you know what, The Wire, you got to like do like a lot of backstory, and it's like, so maybe not. So I thought, you know what, let me throw these boys a curveball. How about To Sir with Love?
I was gonna bring it. I swear, I was gonna bring it up to Ruben. This next one.
Okay.
How many times have you wanted to walk into your classroom and have your students sing to you? That you're
Oh, Ruben, would that be beautiful?
I'm so dreading it. I'm so dreading it.
Ruben's already upset. He hasn't even seen it yet. He's upset.
We've seen so many bad movies that I'm like, ah.
I thought about the moment I thought about that, I was like, oh, that's a silly one. But then, you know what? Because it's silly, I'm going to mention it to the boys.
Now you know we're going to see it because you just told, wherever Ozzy tells us, we just do.
We'll do it now. By the way, I only have one thing to say to you, Ozzy.
Yes, sir.
Órale.
Órale, carnal.
All right. Have a good day and see ya.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, bye-bye.